Hearthstone Snappers, this is Still Life, Having Fun with Photography, Class 1. Take it away, Frank.
All right, thank you, Alan. It's good to see everybody, even though it's dark. Yes, most operative word there is fun. All right?
Yeah.
Okay, because we could work really, really hard, but I don't know any of us at this stage are going to be professional photographers later on. So let's just have fun with it.
Yes.
And it's a continuation of the series that we did before, when we were out going across the lake and all of that sort of thing. And I decided that we just make this a two-session event focused on still life. So I want to say welcome back to the Hearthstone Snappers. Round of applause. I really appreciated all the effort you put into what we did before, and I was excited to see some of the photos. I'm even more excited to see about what's going to be happening next. So we have a specific goal, all right? And our goal is, if you remember, moving from just simply taking pictures to making photographs, which means that what we have to do is slow down and be intentional. They're called snapshots for a reason. Oh, there's something snap. What we want to be is more intentional about what we're doing, asking, why am I taking this photo? What's here that makes it interesting for me, that might make it interesting for someone else? So then the question is, why still life? Well, this took a lot of thought, and I came up with two particular reasons. One, whoops, wait a minute. Yeah, here we go. Come on, machine. Here we go. Why still life? It's just too wet and cold to go outside. All right? And as you will discover as we go through this, there are a lot of things in our apartments or in the common areas that are photo eligible because they can really be fun. So the question is, what is still life? Well, I did some research and when I found this explanation, which I really like, it kind of sums it all up. It's a painting or a photograph of non-living objects arranged in a specific way that creates an emotional response, something that grabs you, or it's arranged in a way that just simply is interesting. Oh, I want to look at that. Or finally, something that tells a story, which I think is the hardest of the three to get to. And we'll have some examples. But what, if you can in fact tell a story in a still life photo, it's really, really intriguing. So let me walk you through some examples of what this means. First of all, what we'll do is an emotional response, and I'm gonna, still life started with painting years and years and years ago, and then has kind of morphed into photography. So I'm going to give you examples of painting, then photography. So let's look at this particular one. What's your response, your emotional response to that?
We know what it is.
You know what it is, but what's your response to it?
Happy.
Happy?
Sad.
Sad? I mean, Van Gogh painted these things, pardon?
A good artist.
A good artist.
Professionalism.
Professionalism. The emotional, Joanne?
Emotions.
What is the emotion it brings to you?
You're asking me?
Yeah?
What does the emotion bring to me?
Yeah.
I'm not always quick on an answer.
That's all right. So I guess another way to phrase it is, what do you feel when you see this painting?
I feel emotional.
Okay, great. That's good. That works.
Beauty.
Art busy?
Beauty.
Beauty. Okay. Some could also see distress
Yeah.
when we know about the artist,
Yeah,
right?
good point.
If it weren't a familiar, popular, wonderful thing, you might think it wasn't very good.
You might.
With the,
No.
you look
Some
at
might say it is.
pictures and some of the flowers look pretty bad, and
That's a
But it's a
sad-
representational piece. It's not realistic.
Right.
And it's designed specifically to grab an emotion. So let me show you one in a photograph. All right? What's the emotion you get? What do you feel when you see that?
sad.
Sad.
Sad?
Lonely.
lonely,
Torn up.
torn up, yeah. So it brings an emotion. This is Imogen Cunningham, as you well know, Seattleite. There is an incredible exhibit at the Seattle Art Museum right now. We spent 3 hours down there last week. It's just really spectacular. 90-some of her photographs. This was a doll she found when she was just getting started, and just went out into the backyard and found these crumbled pieces of brick or whatever and set it there and took the photo. Okay, strong emotion. What about just something, just an interesting effect? Moradani, what's your reaction to that?
I don't really have a reaction to that.
You don't have a reaction.
It's stilted.
It's stilted. Okay?
Well, I think it's, that red is really interesting in there.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't look like anybody planned it to be lovely.
Didn't plan it to be lovely, but is it lovely?
Yeah, and those little swirls on the left and then picked up on the right one.
Mhm.
Good for you.
So, and there also is just simply the arrangement of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the kind of thing you could look at for a while and say, oh, okay, wait a minute, now I see that. Two different backgrounds. And why is the center line, kind of off to the side of that jar or whatever it is? Well, it's all an effort to get you to look through, not at, through the painting. So what about interesting thing in a photograph? I hear chuckles.
Yeah,
Because?
I like that better.
Sweet.
You like it better, okay. Because it's what?
Sweet.
Sweet? I think it's kind of interesting too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It looks
what-
happy.
It's happy, okay. Emotion and interesting. The fact that the pair that's closest to me is leaning over a little bit,
Interesting.
And the other one's leaning in too.
and the other one's leaning in just a little bit. So we spend time looking at it, we see more, and it becomes a little more interesting.
Good point.
What about telling a story? Telling a story in a painting.
Whoa.
1652, oh my goodness.
1652. Is that a story?
Yeah.
Yes.
It is. I don't know what it is.
Wow.
It-
Whole genre of painting, isn't it? I don't know.
yeah, it is. Yeah. There's so many different things in there. Is that an equation that's on the paper folded up between the skull and the candle, or does it tell us some part of the story? And what is that? Is the thing that's open? Is that a compass or a snuff box? What And what's this little thing to the bottom left of the skull? So you can spend a lot of time looking at it, and it's the story of perhaps how this person met his or her demise. We don't know. But there's enough in it that we want to look at it and figure out, well, okay, what's behind that? From 1652. Obviously a painting, not digital. Telling a story, still life photo. Again, Imogen Cunningham. What's the story here?
She's taking her hair down.
She's taking her hair down.
And then did she leave?
We don't know. Did she leave? Did something happen there? It's just a beautifully composed photograph as well.
Sure is.
And if you do get a chance to go to the Seattle Art Museum, there's a wonderful film that runs about a half an hour of her just talking. In this particular instance, she got up in the morning and kind of pulled the sheets back and stuff and thought, well, that's kind of interesting. And so took her hairpins and threw them on the bed and took the picture. I think it's a really powerful image. So, two critical elements of still life: composition and lighting. And we're going to talk about lighting next time. I've All the photographs that you'll see that are mine have all been done with my phone and have not been manipulated. And you'll see some of the lighting and some of them is really bad. Some of it turned out to be all right. What we'll talk about next time is how lighting can impact and some simple little things you can do to really develop that. So composition. If we go back to remember what we were talking about when we first met, about moving in closer. If you don't like your photograph, you're probably not close enough.
Right.
Less is more. In other words, how many times have we taken photos of just a bunch of clutter and you look at it and say, well, what's this photo about? So understanding what it is we're taking, what we're trying to do, and then what's your point of view? You shoot everything from above, everything at eye level, below. Dramatic changes when you move up and down. That point is critical in still life, as you will see, because it really gives you an opportunity to take something that's rather mundane and create it to be interesting. We also have some specific rules which are to be broken on occasion. Remember the rule of thirds? If you take horizontal lines, two vertical lines, and divide the frame that way. If you have your main topic in one of those intersecting points or on one of those lines, it has a much stronger impact. And I'll show you that in a minute. Odds, not even. I'll explain that in just a second. Less can be more, getting rid of the clutter. And then I want to explain to you a little bit of the power of the triangle, which is, triangles are probably the most powerful element in photography and in a lot of art. And we'll look at that as we go along. So remember the rule of thirds. All right? So here is Paul Cézanne. I love this. I love his work. The softness, all of that, and of course his experimentation with color. But as you look at it, it's like, okay, why is that intriguing, and where do your eyes go?
The apples.
The apples, the top apple, and on the lower left, that apricot or whatever it might be, he used the rule of thirds. So you can see by having the apple right at that intersecting point and then the apricot or whatever it is, it really does give the painting balance. That's pretty obvious. Well, let's go back to Imogen Cunningham.
Yeah.
Where do we see the rule of thirds here? So one of the things the problem you can get into doing still life photography is forcing in the rule of thirds. I got to get everything right on those intersecting points. That's not the case here. The line on the left, the vertical line, goes right through the hairpins. And I think one of the most intriguing parts, the folds here, I think are really, really great. And so you can see that even though it is not, you know, the strongest design element, if you will, it still comes to play, that basic rule. Don't forget, ask questions as we go along. So odds, not evens. Odd numbers can create harmony.
I have a question.
Okay.
Could you back up?
Sure.
So, I have a question about backgrounds.
Yes.
And like, what does she use as a background for that, to get that black in there?
I bet it's a blanket. See the blanket here? Right?
Yeah.
The blanket comes all the way around here. Where's the light coming from?
The head of the
The
bed.
light's coming this way, right? This way. Well, so this fold hides that. I'm glad you asked that, because we're going to talk about backgrounds a little bit later.
Okay.
And I'll give you some tools next time to work with backgrounds and light. The background is critically important. So, harmony, balance, and kind of a resting point for the eyes when you are looking at odd numbers. even numbers compete with each other and then can divide your attention. Let me give you an example. The one on the left, that we've already seen, 3 items. Look at the one on the right. There's 6. You could say they're bunched in 3s, you know, like
Yeah, there are
1, 2, 3. But if I'm going to ask you to just look at that photograph for a minute, and what happens to you as you look at it? Does it, well, just what happens to you as you look at that?
It's too busy, confusing.
It's too busy? A little confusing?
You don't know where to focus.
Thank you. You don't know where to focus. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I don't know. I was thinking the first one has a personality of these little items that almost look like little people or little roots or something, the way they're interacting.
Right.
The ones down below look like you want to pick them up and eat them.
So, for those who may not have heard that, the ones on the left, they have personality. They're like people, and the ones on the right look like they're pears you want to just eat. Yeah, and there is dynamic tension that's in the one on the left. The one on the right, I mean, it's a pleasant enough photograph, but you can see the power of an uneven number. And if you're going to have a whole bunch of things, you have to have in it, bunch them together in odd groups.
The one on the left reminds me of music.
Oh,
Isn't there a piece called three pieces in the shape of a pear?
I don't know, but it reminds me of music too, because that photograph has a rhythm to it. Yeah. Yep.
Frank,
Yes.
I'm just trying to, if you didn't have bunches of those pairs, the one with
Whoops.
6,
Wait a minute, I went
if
the
you
wrong way.
only
Hang
had
on.
2,
If what?
if there were only 2, would you still have this lack of harmony? Odd numbers
you go.
create harmony, even divide attention?
If you had just 2, it wouldn't be as confusing or
Right.
as the one on the right. It wouldn't necessarily have a whole lot of interest. It would be 2
Okay.
pairs. Now, you know, remember I said at the beginning, the rules can be broken. So if you had one pair, like the really luscious one on the right, and then one pair to the left that was half eaten, now you'd have a story.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Since you mentioned it, I've been looking at the backgrounds.
Yeah.
And the backgrounds on those 2 pictures are thinking about us doing our own things in our busy apartments will be something to really be careful about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So in those cases, they're just both, you know, they're both flat scrims. I mean, they're professional
But
photographs.
the blue one has something going on in the background.
Well, but that could be a scrim that they've hung there with that kind of modeling on it to
Right,
make it.
it's not huge or anything, but it's just more interesting than it
Yeah,
would
I
be if
agree.
it were just plain blue.
Right. So I'll show you in a couple more, we'll look at them. So 3 to 5 elements in the image bring impact. A larger group can become confusing, but if you have many items, put it into groups of odd numbers. All right, that's where I was headed. So you see what happens here on the left. Now we do have 4, and we have 3 and 1, really. They're separated by grouping, but also by significant color shift
And size.
and size, yes.
So
And
did
then
you take that one to the left?
Nope. No, you haven't seen any of mine yet. Because I wanted to show you the really good ones so you get the idea.
I love that one.
Yeah, so do I. But then the one on the right is the saison. I cropped it a little bit, but you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right? And of course, 1, 2, 3. And then overall, 1, 2, 3.
Interesting.
3 is the plate on the bottom.
What's the little thing supposed to be in there?
This,
Yeah.
something from his imagination. I don't know.
It's not a bite out of that one.
Could be about, yeah, could be the peel out of that. Yeah. So you can see, not all the rules are steadfast, and there are ways of manipulating things to get to where you need to be. So then you come to the power of the triangle. Triangle can create stability. It can give a sense of depth. And it also can create a frame within a frame. We talked about that when we were doing our last sessions, where if you're taking a picture of somebody outside and just standing there, but you stand them in a doorway, then the doorway becomes a frame within the picture frame. So let's look at this, the power of the triangle. Now, you see it
Yeah.
right away, and you see how solid that is. It's not a real interesting photograph, painting actually, but it's solid because look at the triangle on it. Then we come to this dramatic one. You see the triangle there? Here it is.
Head nods.
And what's significant in what she did here is that the triangle on this one is just a solid platform for just simply a still life study, right? This is a dramatic photograph, and what it does is she actually has it a frame within a frame. If you look at this piece of stonework and this piece of stonework, right? The other part that this triangle does is it gives you a sense of depth. And that's one of the real problems photographers have, because remember, a photograph is two-dimensional. So how do you get depth? Well, you do it with lighting, with placement, and also with just this, getting a sense of power. That this doll, I will guarantee you, was not just tossed there. She thought about where she was going to put it, and to make it a really, a powerful photograph.
Yeah, and all those lines
Yeah.
contribute to it too.
All those, yeah, you're right. All those lines do contribute.
There's 4 of them. Or even 6 of them, 5 of them.
Yeah. So you can see, as we go through this, looking at composition and some of the tools. So now, that prompts us to ask some questions. All right? And for you, the first big question is, what am I going to photograph? I mean, that can be a real problem. I mean, what am I going to take a picture of? Well, I have a very simple direction for you. Whatever you want. I mean, take a picture of your foot, take a picture of your hand, take a picture of whatever, something that's laying on the floor. I'm going to walk you through some examples of things. Everything that we're going to look at have been found in our apartment, all right? The next big question is, how am I going to photograph it? Well, I'll give you some tips around that as well. Let's see some examples. This is the thing that's on the poster, right? What do you see in that?
I see some candies on top of the pumpkin.
Okay. Is it no, let me back up. I'm going to ask you questions like, is this an interesting photo? And I took it. And if you don't like it, that's fine. Because the whole idea is I took a bunch of photographs to just get the conversation going as examples. So I don't have any great pride in authorship. So, is there anything interesting in this?
The candy on the pumpkin.
Okay.
The squash or whatever it is
Mhm.
bothers me because I can't, it's so small compared to the size of the apples.
Hmm.
The
Okay,
apples seem very real. The candy seems real, but I can't quite picture. That's hard. That,
okay, so it forces you to ask some questions. Okay,
Just makes me very happy.
makes you happy,
Yeah, it does. I
okay?
love the apples and,
I like the contrast in colors.
mhm.
The contrast in color, okay?
the depth of field too.
It's got some depth to it.
What's the background?
Well, we'll get to that. What is the background? We'll get to that. So there is an element here of what we've just been talking about. Do you see a triangle?
Yes.
It's
Lopsided.
It's on its,
Yeah, I was gonna
There you go. So you can read this triangle as this, or as this, or as this.
Yeah.
But the point is, array 3 items, right? In a way that creates some sort of triangular, either tension or stability. So then the question is, how did I get there? Well, I picked up the gourd or whatever it is and started fiddling around with it. Those are actually little tiny Christmas ornaments.
Oh, yeah, now I can see that,
You
yeah.
can see that. So I shot that, and I thought, yeah, okay, big deal. And then I shot that. I thought, okay, getting a little bit closer. And then, now notice that the one on the far left, I'm directly above, almost looking down. I've come down a little bit looking at the apples. And then this one,
Right on.
where I'm almost at eye level. So the question is, what background did I use? What I did, you know? Because I actually had it on the floor for a while. I had it on the kitchen counter. And instead, I went over and I put it in a chair.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
Really?
I find my shower curtain does very well.
The shower curtain works,
For a lot of
okay?
things, yeah.
That's great. Yeah,
That's good.
so I wanted a darker background,
Yeah.
and so there you go. That's what I did. So it's interesting that you've asked those questions because I was contemplating you would ask that. You have to pay attention to the background. That's one of the #1 things. Pay attention to the background. So here's another one. Your reaction to that?
I like it.
You like it? Why?
Big and
Big?
powerful.
Okay. Forceful?
I like the side pictures because the color is more intense than the.
Yeah, those 2 screens are much better than
Oh,
this
yeah.
one. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it
right.
just pops out at you.
It does pop out, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, what a difference.
Yeah, it's a big, big difference looking at the ones on the side, yeah. But we do have rumors that this is going to be replaced with something much better. We don't know when. So anyway,
That's a good rumor.
yep, it is. So one of the things, and you look at it closely, is that it's a little bit out of focus. You may not suffer from this, but I think anybody who's over 25, when they try to hold a phone like this, their hands shake,
Yeah.
right? We all do that now these days. So how in the world are you going to take a photo that's that close if you have movement? Well, you start figuring out little things to do. How many of you have a coffee cup?
Coffee cup?
A coffee cup. Well, guess what? It becomes a tripod.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
So I just simply found a coffee cup that the phone fit in and started looking at different light and whatnot. And you can see in the right-hand side one here is finally the way I got to the photo you just saw.
Should you use a timer on your photograph?
I did not, but you can. It's another way of doing it is almost all, I think probably every phone has a timer on the camera. If you set it up against somebody and you set something and you set the timer for 10 seconds, that's enough time for the phone, the camera to settle down and take a better picture. So then I started, clearly I'm in the kitchen. And so I thought, well, okay, well, remember the first question, what am I going to take a picture of? So I opened the refrigerator.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and I go, well, let's see what's in there. And I found 3 items, right? And I came up with this.
Oh, nice.
Notice it's 3,
And
it's
3.
5, it's 2, it's 3.
It's 3.
And there's a bit of a triangle.
Yeah.
So now, how do I do that one? Well, actually, the one you saw before I used with my wife's phone. It was pretty small. The phone is small. My phone's a little bit bigger, so I got another coffee cup. Now, the significant thing here is that in order to get this photograph, right, I had to zoom in. Because as I told you, I have not cropped any of these. I haven't done any of that. So when you zoom in, remember I told you before, zooming in is going to cause all kinds of problems. It'll give you a very small level of detail. It's going to get blurry. It's going to go all that. Well, in this particular case, I was able to zoom in, I think, ×2 in order to get the framing that I wanted. But because it was in the coffee cup, and I could push the button, you know, from here, or use the timer, I was able to get that photograph. I didn't add the one. I could have shown you a bunch that the background in this, because in many times when I was trying to do it, I got the curvature of the basket that it was in. I got some of the, all kinds of different things. So that's why I zoomed in to get to there. So the whole idea is to play with it, right? Having fun.
Well,
Yep.
okay, that disturbs me because before when you said zooming in, you lose the resolution.
Right.
And then here you're saying you did because it's in a cup?
No. Usually you lose resolution if you zoom in too much. That much not. But what really happens when you zoom in, any movement you have in the phone is greatly exaggerated.
Movement, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
greatly exaggerated. So by doing this, you get rid of that camera shake.
Thank you.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
Pardon?
I said, for heaven's sakes. It looks like a painting.
Oh,
It's beautiful.
Looks like somebody dust that plant too. Is that plant dusting? It looks that way.
It looks like what?
It's dusting.
Just look over here. Or over
Yeah,
there.
no, but I mean the plant is itself.
Yeah.
Mine get very dusty, my plants.
No, it's not dusty. I would tell you that my wife would not let me photograph if it were dusty. So, how did I do this one? Well, I really had to work at this one because, as you can see right here, it's a reflective surface. So trying to get some place where there's not light shining over it and all of that sort of thing. So what I did was put it on a table, put the cloth on the table so that the background was okay, and then the light is quite a bit of ways. And then stood on this side and photographed down. So I asked you if you have a cup. Yeah, okay, well now you have a tripod, and you must have a plant or a pretend plant. Throw something into it, because it's really interesting what you can do. Then, if you're still struggling, right, go online and just simply Google still life. And you will get all kinds of ideas. That's what I did. I Googled still life paintings, and I came up with this. Okay? Vincent Van Gogh's boots. I'm going, wow. Okay, here we go. I need to warn you. Find inspirations and embrace failure. Embrace your failures, because this is what I ended up with. I tried everything to make these interesting, and I couldn't. I put them on the floor, I got a black sheet of paper, everything, and then I gave up and went on to photograph something else.
Well, there are also not three of them.
Well,
If they're
that's,
two-
but see, this, you know, break the
Well, there's only
rules.
two, those, yeah.
There are only two there,
Yeah, there are.
you know, but it's his use of color, all of that, it tells a really, you know,
Well, no,
powerful story.
the background of that is really interesting.
Oh, sure, that's what makes it. That's why I was so excited about having the background of our floor, but it just didn't work. So, you know,
I think the strings could have been an interesting line.
yeah, if I fiddled with it a little bit more, I could have, you're right. But I was so disappointed when I took the picture, looked at my phone, and went, no. So I started looking around the apartment, okay, what else is there? And I looked over in the corner and saw that.
Oh,
I go, wait a minute. Is there something there? So I studied it for a while and thought, okay, what could I, using just the phone, take a picture of that might be kind of interesting? Less is more. So I just think that that's, you know,
it's lovely.
yeah, thank you. It's lovely. It's kind of just a little sweet thing that you could take and send to somebody and say, thinking of you at this Christmas time. Or, here's a basket of love.
Mhm.
No, that'd be too far. Okay.
Nice.
Use books to tell a story. So this is one of my favorite little things Jean gave me many years ago. It's Christopher at the Sea. And I thought, okay, what could I do with that? And I took many different pictures of Christopher. That's Christopher on the bed with just a blanket trying to be the beach and all that. And I thought, well, no, wait a minute. I'm looking up, because Christopher sits in a bookcase. And so I go, what's in that bookcase that I could add to Christopher to make a story? So I went through the books. Can you read it?
Oh, yeah.
Summer book.
The summer book.
Oh,
So by combining those two,
And all the beach stuff with it.
yeah, Christopher at the beach, there's the summer book. It just is, you know, it's an interesting
Yeah,
little
it's
photo.
interesting.
So then I really,
And they aren't any different than what you had over there.
what do you mean?
I mean, the things that are with him, the shovel and the,
Well, that's all part of the same piece of art.
yeah, but it looks like you've added more in this one.
No, I've not.
No, I know you haven't, but I mean, it gives it, that you're really aware of them
Oh, I
here, and you don't
Yeah, like a
notice them
shell.
there.
Like a
Yeah, you're not as aware of all of this stuff in the
Yeah.
other one,
Right.
Yeah.
and that's because of the angle of the camera. Because I came down.
that's really amazing.
Well, maybe,
Because
okay,
I want your eye to go like this.
yeah, it does.
Yeah. So that, I mean, that's designed specifically to do that. Now,
We're gonna have to really think.
yeah, somebody just said you're gonna have to really think. That's part of the process. Is think
You're
this
out.
through. It's-
You're out.
Yeah, you're out, yeah. It's not a snapshot. It's a thoughtful thing. Now, I just want you to look at this and then tell me the story.
It's an alcoholic.
It's an alcoholic, okay?
His life is wasted for too much drink.
Okay, life is wasted. What else?
Sneaking away weekend or something. Let's pretend this never happened.
What's the story here?
stop drinking.
You can't stop drinking, okay.
You're too clever for us.
Well, it's about the destruction that can come out of alcoholism and that sort of thing. Because I found the shot glass, wandering around the kitchen. I thought, well, now what can I do with this? I'll backtrack for just a second. One of my favorite lines from the book, Crawdads. What's the name of it?
Yeah.
Crawdads, the Crawdads
Crawdads.
book. It's a fabulous book.
It is.
She's talking about her father, who comes back from the war and ends up becoming an alcoholic. And the line that she wrote is, he climbed out of the foxhole into the bottom of a shot glass. I just think that's just a great, that book is filled with those kinds of things. So when I saw that shot glass, I thought, it reminded me of that. And I thought, okay, well, what's the story behind that? So I went through all of our books to find books that I thought would somehow relate.
It's great.
And so, let's pretend this never happened, is a common refrain, right?
Right.
Let it go
Yeah.
is another one. Life wasted.
Yeah.
And then, the rules of civility get broken. So it is a complex story. It's a complex photograph. It's the kind of thing that I would hope a person would look at for a while and say, what's this artist, this photographer trying to say? So it's
Amazing.
Pardon?
That's amazing.
Well,
It's very thoughtful.
it's finding stuff that's around, and whatever triggers your emotion, whatever triggers some memory, right?
And you wouldn't have half of the power if the glass had been sitting upright.
I have about 6 photos. You're absolutely right. Where the glass is upright,
Yeah.
where the glass is laying down, pointing out, all of that. That line, that diagonal line,
Yeah.
creates tension.
It gives
Yeah.
you a triangle in it. Also, it looks a little like he could have been quite under the weather at the angle,
Yeah.
not,
So as Betty's saying about that, one of the things that's really important to do, and because we're doing this, not wasting film, I took probably 6 or 7 photographs. I had the basic array of the books, but then where I wanted to put different things, put the shot glass and whatnot. If you do that, you will look at a series that you've taken and you'll go, that's the one. It'll just click for you, go, I like that one. That's the one. So that's why it's important to practice, practice, practice. Don't be afraid of the failure of the tennis shoes on the floor.
Is the background bookcase?
Yeah, the background's bookcase.
To me, I keep looking at and I see movement. It's not like a still life, it's like a move.
It's got movement in it. All right, that's great.
It does.
Yeah.
glass
It's
would
gonna topple.
book another.
Okay, so then I got on a roll, right?
Whoa.
The assassin's cloak. And my glasses are sitting there, and I thought, well, what do I need? And I went out in the drawer and got a knife. There you go.
And yet the book is not straight on the background.
No,
Off
I
just-
wanted to tilt it a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that adds to it.
Well, and the other thing I worked on in fiddling with it is, first of all, the knife I selected, a bread knife wouldn't work.
No, no.
So I had to find a knife that had a shape a little bit like a stiletto, because we don't have any of those. And then fiddling with which way should the blade be? Should it be flipped in the other direction or flipped this way? And I don't know why, but flipped the other way, it just doesn't click. Flipped it this way with the sharp edge which catches the light, get it in that way. Books. They're just great
It's amazing.
for ideas.
I love the way the glasses pick up the W.
Yeah. Now that's another, I didn't know that until after I was really looking at it. I had to go back and figure out, move the glasses around, if there's some word in here that you could really magnify. That would be kind of interesting. Okay, the other thing to do is just look at your feet, because even a rug holds possibilities. So let's just, okay, there's the rug. So I went in real close. I'm down on my hands and knees.
Well, you're more limber than most.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, no, Gene came and helped me get up. So here's a rocket ship taking off,
Yeah.
right? And then here's a person standing on a avocado. But you see the person here?
No.
Oh, yeah, sure. His arms are in
His
there.
arms right.
Oh, yeah.
So now, if I wanted to use a little manipulative software, and I'll tell you about that later, I would darken this and then darken this so that just that was there. The point I'm trying to make is, I was wandering around, I looked down the floor, and well, wait a minute, let me look, and found a couple little patterns there.
Where did you find plain white arms?
And the rug.
Oh, I know, but.
They're all on the rug.
All on that rug.
They're all on that rug.
Yeah, but.
So this piece right here,
Oh, no, I say that, but the white arms, there aren't any white arms over there.
Well, there's gotta be, because it came.
over
from-
here,
Yeah,
well, it's a different part of the rug. They're over here. I mean, it's a big rug, so
I know it, but,
it's in there somewhere.
oh, yeah, no, I'm not questioning it.
Okay,
They're a different color then.
then this just sits up against the window, right? And that's not an overly impressive little piece of wood carving art, but I liked it. I kind of liked the way it's done, and I thought, well, what can I do with that? I can't just take a picture of it. Well, guess what we have laying around, as you've seen a lot of, is fruit. So,
Oh.
Oh.
now, the lighting is not good because the lemon overpowers it. We'll talk about how to fix that. But what I did was 3 items, right? And I leaned the piece of art so that it wasn't just flat. So it gives the picture a little bit of a dynamic feel.
Did you try any grapes in it?
No, I did not, because we didn't have any. But it's still sitting on the box, and I put a piece of black paper behind it. We have this strange weed thing that is, I'm not supposed to be showing you that, I guess, because it's positioned there to hide all the plugs that are behind it. Okay. So what would you do with that?
Move in.
You'd move in. What'd you say?
Get her away from the plug.
Get it away from the plugs. Okay, no. We're talking about photography now, not fire hazards. Well,
That's it?
Alan, something happened.
What'd you do to it?
Well, we were talking about this particular photograph I have is too close to the electric plugs, and I think the electricity hurt it and turned it off.
I was
The
offended.
screen liked that picture.
Let's see if that doesn't. No input is detected. We'll have to cut this part out of the video.
Oh,
Unless anyone knows any good jokes.
Good photography jokes. No, they rarely develop.
Oh, very good.
I shudder to think of that.
Oh.
That's very good.
Should we focus on this conversation?
You're looking a little blue, Frank.
I like blue. So this is an abstract.
yeah.
And this is a piece called No Input Detected and in focus.
It lacks a triangle.
It does. However, brackets help. You notice
There we
the
go.
Oh, we got it on the other one.
You got it.
Got
There we
it.
are. Thank you, Alan.
I might keep that part in. That was some good material.
Okay, well, it just shows that this is a live program. Whoop. Okay, so I thought, what can I do with this? So it's about moving in closer and picking a part of it right?
Yes.
And then taking the photo and saying, okay, what else could I do with the photo? That's what I ended up with.
Oh, no.
So what I did is I shot the top of it and then turned the photo upside down.
And it's very nice.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. The background is simply the wall. And finally, because it's Christmas time, these things are all over. I love these guys.
Huh.
But I like her especially. So I took her out of the tray, moved the tray and everything, and then took a couple of photographs, and backsplash is, So I got my piece of black paper
Oh.
and did that.
Oh, that's nice.
Sweet little photograph.
How big is your paper?
Oh, I have one that's this big, but I also have 8.5 by 11. So now that I know how many people are here, I will bring some background stuff for you next time. There's a not a composition flaw. I mean, it's just one thing. I like it, and it's in the middle rather than in the thirds. It's off just a little bit. What could make it better?
Maybe the angle.
I think it's lovely just the
angle?
way it is.
Well, look at this. Look at this. It's kind of blown out. It's too bright. So how could I have modified that? Well, guess what?
Right?
We now understand composition. Next time we're going to study lighting.
Oh, God. Good.
That's a clever little way.
Very good.
Yeah, okay. Transition.
Very good.
You aren't going to show
So-
us.
What's the answer?
Show you what?
No, but on the,
Lighting?
yeah, on the lighting.
We're going to do lighting next
I
time.
know. You're going to leave us with that poor lady the whole time.
She looks good.
Well, I think she looks okay.
She
I
does.
think she's lovely, just like
Yeah.
she is.
But I'll see if I can take a picture of her again using a light modifier to make the light a little softer. Okay? There you go.
Is that your Christmas tree in the background?
That is.
Wow.
Well, it's pretty dramatic when it's like this so far out of focus,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
But, and if this is the lantern that was on the table
Yeah.
with the Santa Claus book, and I was kind of all done, and I thought, well, wait a minute, what if I took a picture of that? And I surprised myself. I took that using portrait mode. Because what the portrait mode does is focuses on what's closest to the camera and automatically blurs the back.
Oh.
So use your portrait mode.
Oh.
It would do that, wouldn't it?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
That's wonderful. Why don't we all know that?
I don't know. So there you go.
Good picture.
I think you have to start thinking about class 3.
Well, let's get through this first.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll talk about lighting. What else would you like to know about?
I keep asking you, and I'll continue, but I want to know how we take a photograph from this to a printer. How do we get these photographs out of this little iPhone?
So, okay, how do you get the photograph out of the iPhone?
Yeah.
A, do you have a laptop?
Yes.
Okay, so it's very difficult to print from a phone. So the software that's on a phone and iPad is different than the software that's on a laptop. So that's why it can be difficult, it's possible, but it can be difficult to link a phone to a printer. Can be done. So what I do is download them onto my laptop. Then it's much easier to print. So the question is, how do you get it from that to the laptop? We'll talk about that.
Okay.
Okay?
I'll be happy if you do.
Okay, well, it's my job. Make you happy.
Show me how.
So the other thing
Oh, yeah.
I talked about before was a piece of software called Snapseed. And so we'll talk about that as well next time. I'll bring you some examples because it goes on any kind of phone, an iPhone, an Android, or whatever. And it's a very, very powerful, free piece of software that's really fun to manipulate photos with. So we can do that. Okay?
Okay.
Wonderful. Till next time.
Yes.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you. Yes, yes. You know, and let me, make sure you take some photos
Oh,
between.
my goodness.
Oh. Look, see, I don't know how that happens, because this is what's on this. So I don't know how that ends up there. But
Okay,
there's my family.
so your two sons?
No, that's me on the end, my wife Jean,
Yeah,
grandson Peter, son Paul,
yeah.
daughter Amy, mother of these two guys,
Okay.
Jack, and Amy's husband.
I'll be darned.
So I had a big studio set up in the house where we lived before we came here. And all the formal portraits, and I said, well, just get in a line. And I got a line, and then I have a remote clicker, and I went over and stood next to him, and I said, okay, make ugly faces. And we click, click, and
Oh, that is just wonderful.
it's fun. Yeah.
Oh, my
Two
golly.
sets of braces.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, they grow up fast, though. This guy is now 20 years old and in Boston going to college, and the other one is at Lincoln High School down here. This is on a mountaintop in just above Santa Barbara. So we can stand here and watch some of my
Oh,
old
they're
photos.
beautiful.
Yeah. So anyway,
Another great class.
good. I'm glad you like it because I
Yes.
certainly have fun with it.
Well, you're very technologically,
Pardon?
you're very technologically adroit.
Oh, give us an assignment.
Do we have an assignment? What are we supposed to
Sure, your assignment is go take pictures.
Inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what? Wait, would you be
Send it
interested?
to you?
Yeah, so let me ask this question. Would you be willing to, every one of you, take some pictures and send me one of yours?
Okay.
Sure.
Okay? You don't have to do it, but if you'd like to, take some pictures and send me one.